What's a Frisbee? A Frisbee's fun. It's a flying saucer that you command. Watch.
This is the way to curve a Frisbee.
This is the way to curve a Frisbee.
Catch a Frisbee.
Catch a Frisbee. Skip a Frisbee.
Skip a Frisbee. This is the way to hold a Frisbee.
This is the way to boomerang it.
Every Monday morning,
Afternoon and evening. Frisbee's a game of keep away.
Frisbee's a game of keep away. It lifts like a plane
Or a flying saucer.
and it whirls around like a gyroscope. Frisbee's the way to lots of fun at the park or beach or picnic. For every one of the family, for every one of the family.
Hiya, my name's Jim Pistrang. Thinking about my Frisbee and ultimate history, I first encountered a Frisbee when I was 8 years old in Michigan. My dad was spending the summer at Ann Arbor at the university there, and I went with my mom. And we came across a Whammo Frisbee. Possibly they were just in early marketing still, and I just loved it.
I'm Joel Silver, and we're here to talk a little bit about Ultimate Frisbee.
Somewhere in the 67 range, a bunch of Amherst college kids started playing a game out on the common or on some field at Amherst College that they had invented that they called Ultimate. So this kid, Jared, I forget his last name, starts with a K, at Amherst College, I think it was his junior year, as a summer job, he taught up at the Mount Herman School.
I went to Mount Herman, which was a prep school in the east, in the northeast, in New Hampshire, I think it was, and they had a program, summer program, and we began playing a game that was similar to Ultimate Frisbee. It was a kind of a running Frisbee game that was intriguing to a lot of the students there. And I think it had come, I don't remember the guy's name. I think his name was Jared Cass. I'm not sure who and I think he'd went to Amherst. And I think the game had that game had come from Amherst or his hometown, I don't remember.
So he had a bunch of kids and he taught them this game called Ultimate. One of those kids was from Maplewood, New Jersey. His name was Joel Silver, and you can Google him and find out all sorts of interesting things. He became a pretty high-end movie producer.
But when I went back to high school, that September, which I guess would have been in September '68, I brought that game back with me to Columbia High.
So Joel went back to Columbia High School, which is the public high school of Maplewood, New Jersey, and taught his friends this game. He kind of never mentioned that he was taught this game by somebody else. He just said, I've got this great game called Ultimate. And it was played kind of as a joke by his peer group. And he's about 2 years older than me.
I think just as a joke one day, I think I may have gotten up at the student council and said that I moved that a committee be formed to investigate the possibility of introducing Frisbee into the high school curriculum. And I think as a joke, the council passed it. And we had an official student committee to essentially investigate playing Frisbee. And so many elements. I mean, there was a great moment in, I think, Thunderball, one of the James Bond movies, where he was shooting skeet and he says, pull, and that's where I got the idea to say pull when you throw the Frisbee.
Easier. Perhaps you'd call one for me.
Of course. Pull!
Seems terribly difficult.
But the kids who were my age, who were just freshmen and sophomores when he taught them this game, took it a lot more seriously and played all the time and really got into it and wrote down a set of rules.
We felt we should get it down, how to play the game, and he said, well, let me write a set of the rules. And he typed up the first set of rules.
So my friends and I, particularly this one friend, Billy Kelly, and I decided that we needed a Frisbee team at the high school. There was no such thing existed anywhere as far as we knew. So we called a meeting, and we announced there was going to be a Frisbee team. This was in the fall of '71 in New Jersey, and about 100 kids showed up to the meeting. And from all different, kids who were jocks, kids who were total non-jocks and non-athletic, just everybody thought this was a great idea. We had no idea what we were going to do or what a Frisbee team would do. So Billy and I wrote a letter to the athletic departments of high schools, and we sent it out to about 100 high schools. And we got a response from a high school not that far from us, but they didn't have a Frisbee team, but they had heard of a Frisbee team down in Maplewood, New Jersey, which was a little less than an hour drive away from us. So they had a phone number, and I called this kid named Irv Kolb, and I said, "Hi, we have a Frisbee team. You want to come play us?" And the response was, "We don't just have a team, we have a game and we have rules, and we'll teach you our rules," and all that sort of stuff. But in '72, a bunch of us went off to colleges and started teams. So in the fall of '72, I got to college and started putting up posters right away. There were probably over 100 college teams by my senior year, and it really exploded in the course of the first few years. In the spring of '73, which was the spring of my freshman year, two things happened. The Boston Globe did an article on us, and that got a bunch of other Massachusetts teams calling me and saying, "How can we start a team?" And Time Magazine did an article, and that was also the spring of '73.
My name is Leela Tennell, and I currently am one of the co-coaches of the BX varsity team at Amherst High School with Joe Costello, and I am the head coach of the Valley Ultimate GX team, which is a youth club team that competes from the Pioneer Valley. But I am not from the Pioneer Valley. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and I played for Paideia High School. And then after that, went to Connecticut College and helped get the women's program off the ground there, and played for Boston Brute Squad. And after that, transferred to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and I played for UNC and helped start Phoenix, and won the Callahan Award at UNC. And then moved to New York City and went back to playing with Brute Squad, and a mix of Phoenix and Brute Squad for a number of years before moving to Amherst, where I played with Brute Squad for a few more years, and the U.S. Women's National Team, and have been coaching for about the last 20 years.
So I guess I've been playing for 14 years, maybe 15. I've been throwing it for at least 15 years. I've played for Amherst Middle School and Amherst High School. I've played for Valley Ultimate, which is the youth club team. I've played for a adult mixed team called Happy Valley.
So I'm Tina Booth, and I moved here in 1989. I played Ultimate at Cornell University, and there was no college division and no club division, and there was definitely no high school division. And I moved here from this little place called Fisher's Island, which is an island off the coast of Connecticut. And I knew I wanted to come to Amherst because when I played as a club player, Amherst was the place to come to.
What led me here was mostly Ultimate. This is a place that I grew up strongly associating with Ultimate, and every year Paideia High School would come up to play the Amherst Invitational, and I developed this incredible community of friends, not to mention Tina Booth, and I worked in the National Ultimate Training Camp for years. Amherst has always been my fairyland. It's just been the place that feels like my dream.
Yeah, Amherst is like on the map, hella, because it's like there's players on good club teams across the country who came from Amherst, and I mean, yeah, there's definitely, we're a part of the history of the game and stuff, and it's so short that like that can kind of be conflated.
Amherst really got on the map because of Tina Booth in the high school program and in the mid-90s.
So for me at the high school, I just waited for any kids that were kind of slow to leave the room, and it's like, "Oh, Miguel, you want to come play Frisbee this Sunday?" "Oh, okay, Miss Booth." I'm like, "Okay, great." So that's how I started getting kids. What was happening is I was in Amherst, my friend Michael Baccarini was in Atlanta, and Mary and Jeff Jorgensen were in Seattle. So we were kind of like the first wave of players who were organizing and coaching high school youth. So I called up the Ultimate Players Association, which is now USAU, and I said, could you send me a list of all the high school teams so I can see if I can, organize them? And they're like, "Oh, we don't keep track of those teams." I'm like, okay, so I started keeping track of them. I would go in every fall to the athletic director and say, this guy was named Chris. I said, "Hey, Chris, can we be a varsity sport?" "No." I said, "Okay, I'll come back in a year." And, I gave him all the reasons and stuff. And then one year, I just wore him down, and he said yes. And then that's when it kind of exploded.
And, in the early 90s, her high school team, would lose to the better teams all the time. There weren't that many of them, but there were a couple teams. But by the mid and late 90s, they were really becoming dominant.
So it's 1992. I gathered these teams. I know we need to have a tournament. At that point, there were only New York City teams, plus us and maybe a team out east. And so 8 teams came. 2 were from the high school, and then 5 were from Bronx Science, which was the main New York City school. And and the side parking lot at the high school. So this bus shows up, this whatever charter bus, and I'm so excited the morning of the tournament, and I go over, Sally, Susie cream cheese, hippie coach, whatever, and the door opens, and this young man comes out, and he surveys the field, and I said, "Hi, I'm Tina Booth. Welcome so much. Thanks for coming." And he goes, "No one told me we were coming to the fucking boonies." Yeah. Like, okay, Tina, let's grab a seat in the reality chamber. So anyway, so they came for years and years, and they just crushed everyone. And I'm afraid they're kind of, I don't even know if they're around anymore. But teams have taken their place.
There have been so many pioneers who have really paved the way for this to become such a rich sports community, including Jim Pistrain and Tina Booth.
I really do my best whenever I'm getting accolades is to do a tip of the hat to Jim, because to Jim and also to all the ultimate parents who settled here.
My dad played pickup in high school, which was the most organization that there was. It was just meeting on the town common or whatever, and just playing for fun. But that's since the 80s or something.
I think on one of my first days in Amherst, I drove by the town common, and there were people playing Ultimate, because there used to be a pickup game nearly every day on the common back in the 80s. And I actually parked the car and went and played for the first time in over 10 years. Interestingly, rules had changed since then. There was a bunch of things added to the rules that I didn't even know about. But I got involved in playing a little, and soon after that, I met Tina Booth, and she had started a high school team in Amherst just a year before I moved to town. And in 1993, I said, what can I do to help out and be involved? And I helped her run the intramural league that the high school had in the fall.
Kids were quitting their fall sports to play Ultimate Intramurals.
And then she said, hey, there's kids at the junior high who really want a team. Do you want to coach the junior high team, a new junior high team?
The middle school team is competitive.
And we hardly ever have kids who play in middle school who don't go on to play in high school, because they really liked it in middle school.
And so in 2003, we go down to Birmingham, Alabama for nationals. And my team I was coaching the boys team, they ended up winning it. And we had all these people around our field, and next door was the women's or the girls' final, and it was Amherst varsity versus Amherst JV.
When the high school teams are good, kids come in as freshmen, and they've even probably watched some games when they were middle schoolers, and they see people who are really good at it. And if you see people who are really good at it, and you like the sport, you're gonna be oh, I wanna be able to do that. I want to be really good at it too.
A lot of the kids that we coach are in tremendous positions of power and are very privileged and go on to continue that privilege both in the Ultimate community and beyond.
I love it when the kids I coach go on to play really well in high school and really well in college, and sure, I'm proud of them, but I think what I love more than anything else is the kids who play in middle school, play in high school, and go to college and discover that they're really good when they didn't even know they were good, because they played for so long and they understand how the game works, and that's really fun to hear about.
I was just someone who put one foot after the other and didn't really look up, and here we are.